The story begins in the rugged expanse of the Old West, where the sun beats down relentlessly on the parched earth and the wind whispers through the canyons like an echo of lost souls. The cowboy, a man named Eli Thornton, rides with heavy boots crunching the dry sand and the weight of loss pressing on his shoulders. Eli's brother, Samuel Thornton, was younger, more impulsive and full of life, but fate had cruelly taken him in a skirmish with a rival gang along the riverbank near Apache territory. Samuel's body lay slumped against the sandstone cliff, his face pale under the harsh sun, his hat tipped over one eye. Eli's first sensation is disbelief, a mix of sorrow and anger. A knot of grief that tightens as he bends down to examine his brother. Clutched in Samuel's hand is a folded piece of parchment, edges yellowed by sun and sweat. Eli carefully pries it from his brother's lifeless fingers. The letter, written in neat, almost trembling handwriting, begins with an apology, a confession, and ends with a plea. Samuel's words reveal that he had fallen in love with an Apache woman named Nayeli, who had saved him during an earlier encounter with raiders. He writes that her life and the life of the child she carries would be in danger if left, unprotected in the unforgiving territories they inhabit. Samuel's final request is heart-wrenching. He asks Eli, the only family he has left, to take up his responsibility, to marry Nayeli and ensure her and the child's safety, and to honor his love in the only way Eli can. Eli sits back, staring at the jagged horizon where the sun meets the mountains, his mind spinning. The letter is more than words on paper. It is a lifeline, a burden, and a test of character. He feels an immediate weight pressing upon him, the enormity of the request threatening to crush him. Marry a woman he has never met, risk entering the heart of Apache territory, and carry forward the legacy of a brother he loved dearly. This is not a decision he takes lightly. He ponders Samuel's life, remembering the reckless laughter, the narrow escapes, the dreams of love and freedom his brother always spoke of. Samuel's handwriting seems almost alive, and Eli feels the urgency and sincerity behind every sentence, yet doubt gnaws at him. How can he honor a man's dying wish when it means stepping into a world he knows nothing about? The Apache have long been misunderstood by settlers, often met with fear, suspicion, or outright violence. Eli's mind races with cautionary tales and the harsh realities of frontier life. Still, he cannot ignore the letter. His loyalty to his brother, the moral code instilled in him since childhood, compels him forward. Samuel's life, abruptly ended, now becomes a guidepost. He swears softly, his voice carried away by the wind, that he will not fail his brother, no matter the cost, as he prepares to ride. Eli gathers his essentials, his rifle, a few rounds of ammunition, his lariat, and provisions enough for a long journey. Each item represents both survival and the resolve he must summon to fulfill Samuel's wish. The journey will not be easy. Apache lands are far wild and fraught with danger, and Eli has little knowledge of the terrain or customs he will encounter. Yet, in the quiet moments before he mounts his horse, he feels a strange sense of clarity, a mixture of purpose, dread, and honor. The letter is carefully folded into his jacket, a constant reminder of Samuel's trust and the stakes at hand. As he rides out of the canyon, the story begins to unfold into a broader narrative of duty, courage, and unexpected love. The wind picks up, tugging at his coat, and the horse's hooves drum a steady rhythm on the hard-packed earth. Each mile brings Eli closer to the unknown, to Nayeli, and to the promise made with his brother's dying hand. This journey is as much internal as external. It is a test of Eli's character, a passage through grief, responsibility, and the blurred lines between fear and honor. In this first outline, the story establishes the emotional stakes and motivation. Eli's grief and moral compass are introduced, along with the central conflict, a promise to a man now gone, A journey into a foreign culture and the looming question of whether duty can lead to love. The letter is symbolic, not just a request, but a call to action, a bridge between the past and the uncertain future. The story's tension comes from Eli's internal struggle, the unknown dangers of the Apache territory, and the life-altering choice thrust upon him. This opening outline sets the tone for the rest of the narrative, a story about love, honor, sacrifice, and the courage to step into the unknown to fulfill a promise bigger than oneself. Eli's journey begins at dawn. The canyon, now behind him, glows with a pale orange light, and the chill of morning air brushes against his face. The landscape stretches endlessly before him, jagged mesas, deep ravines, and dry riverbeds. With each mile, the familiar markers of his homestead disappear, replaced by the unknown expanse of the frontier. The letter from Samuel is tucked safely in his coat pocket, but Eli's mind continually revisits the words. Each sentence a reminder of the weight he carries. Riding alone across the wilderness is grueling. The sun beats down mercilessly by midday, and the horse's hooves stir up clouds of dust. Eli stops occasionally to check the horse's legs, to drink from hidden springs, and to scan the horizon for signs of danger wolves, rattlesnakes, or hostile humans. Each obstacle reminds him that the frontier is unforgiving. He recalls tales of travelers who never returned, and though fear whispers in the back of his mind, determination dominates. Samuel's trust is a tether, pulling him forward. As he rides, Eli's thoughts often drift to his brother. He recalls the laughter they shared during long summer nights, the stories Samuel told of freedom and love, and the reckless courage that had always defined him. Eli contrasts this with the letter, which shows a depth of vulnerability he had never imagined. Samuel, in his final moments, thought of another's safety over his own life, a concept that both humbles and inspires Eli. He realizes that honoring this request is not just about duty, but about embodying the nobility his brother had aspired to. Crossing into Apache territory, the terrain grows more rugged. Sandstone cliffs rise sharply, their faces etched with erosion, while narrow trails wind precariously along ridges. Eli must navigate each turn with care, balancing caution with speed. The isolation is profound. At night, the sky is filled with countless stars, a stark contrast to the orange glow of the canyon dawn. He makes camp in hidden clearings, lighting small fires only briefly to avoid drawing attention. The wilderness is as beautiful as it is threatening. And Eli begins to understand the duality of life on the frontier, danger and beauty, solitude and revelation. During these solitary nights, Eli reflects on the woman he has yet to meet. Nayeli exists to him only through Samuel's letter, her bravery, kindness, and resilience described in vivid words, but still intangible. He imagines her face, her mannerisms, her voice, and feels a growing sense of responsibility. He recognizes that his actions will shape not just his own fate, but hers and that of her unborn child. The thought is both daunting and motivating. Every obstacle, the blinding dust storms, the jagged rocks, the wild animals becomes a metaphor for the emotional challenges awaiting him. Eli also encounters external trials that test his survival skills and endurance. A sudden flash flood in a narrow canyon forces him to seek higher ground, clinging to rocks as torrents of water rush below. Days of scorching sun leave his skin cracked and raw, and nights of biting cold test his resolve. At one point, a mountain lion stalks him silently, forcing Eli to remain motionless for hours, heart pounding, until the predator loses interest. Each trial sharpens his instincts and teaches him the value of patience, observation, and restraint. Beyond the physical hardships, Eli faces an internal battle, fear of the unknown. He wonders how Nayeli will receive him. Will she see him as an ally, a savior, or an intruder? Will the Apache trust a white man who suddenly appears claiming familial duty? Eli wrestles with these questions every night, sometimes doubting whether he has the right to impose his presence or fulfill Samuel's wishes. But the memory of Samuel's earnest words, the plea for protection and continuity, rekindles his courage. Eli realizes that bravery is not the absence of fear, but the resolve to act despite it. The journey also allows Eli to grow spiritually and emotionally. Riding under vast skies and through endless desert, he contemplates life, death, love, and the human capacity for empathy. Each night, he writes brief notes in his journal, recounting his thoughts, the letter's guidance, and his evolving understanding of duty. He begins to see the frontier not only as a place of danger, but also as a space for moral testing, where honor is measured by action rather than words. The wilderness becomes a mirror for his inner transformation, shaping him into a man ready to meet the responsibilities he has inherited. As he nears the edge of Apache lands, tension builds. The land changes subtly, more forests, mesas interspersed with open plains, signs of habitation such as smoke in the distance, and footprints not his own. Eli slows his pace, cautious but determined. Every shadow could be an observer, every rustle a warning. He knows that one misstep could jeopardize the mission or provoke conflict. Yet he presses on, driven by the promise to his brother and the responsibility toward Nayeli and her child. By the end of this journey outline, Eli has not only traversed miles of challenging wilderness, but has also undergone profound personal growth. He has faced external dangers, storms, wildlife, treacherous terrain, as well as internal trials, grief, doubt, fear, and the ethical weight of fulfilling a brother's dying wish. The journey prepares him for the next phase, meeting Nayeli. He is no longer merely a grieving brother. He has become a man tempered by hardship, guided by duty, and ready to step into the unfamiliar world of the Apache with all its cultural, social, and emotional complexities. This outline establishes the physical and emotional preparation for the pivotal encounter. It demonstrates Eli's courage, resourcefulness, and moral character, setting the stage for a story of cultural bridging, unexpected romance, and the fulfillment of a profound promise. The journey itself is a crucible, forging Eli into someone capable of honoring his brother while building a new life he could never have anticipated. After days of navigating treacherous terrain, Eli finally approaches the edges of the Apache settlement. The sun is low, painting the horizon in gold and crimson. Smoke rises gently from small clay and wooden homes, curling into the sky. The air is alive with the sounds of life, children laughing, dogs barking, the soft rhythm of drums and voices. Yet beneath this vibrancy is a palpable tension, a reminder that Eli is an outsider in a world he knows little about. Every step closer makes his heart pound with anticipation and anxiety. Eli dismounts cautiously, holding his hands in view to signal he carries no weapons to threaten the people. His horse snorts nervously, sensing his own tension. He approaches the central clearing, where a few elders and warriors sit around a fire. They stop their activities to watch him, their eyes sharp and discerning. Eli clears his throat and speaks in English, but quickly realizes that language will be a barrier. The elders exchange glances, murmuring to one another in their native tongue. Eli feels the weight of every gaze upon him. He knows that any misstep could provoke anger or mistrust, yet he must deliver his message. He introduces himself simply, "My name is Eli Thornton. I come from the white settlements beyond the hills. I bring a message and a promise." He pulls Samuel's letter from his coat, holding it carefully. The elders watch intently as he speaks, and one of them, an older woman with sharp eyes and a commanding presence, steps forward. She reads the letter with careful attention, her eyes narrowing and softening alternately. Eli watches nervously, noting every subtle expression. Finally, she hands the letter to Nayeli, who has been quietly observing from the shade of a nearby dwelling. Nayeli is striking her presence commanding, her eyes sharp yet weary. She approaches Eli slowly, her body language cautious but dignified. She takes the letter with hands that are both firm and graceful. As she reads Samuel's words, her emotions flicker: sorrow, confusion, pride, and a hint of anger. Eli watches her closely, recognizing the delicate balance he must maintain: empathy without intrusion, respect without subservience. The first moments between them are silent, yet charged with tension. Words are insufficient. It is the weight of their shared circumstance, Samuel's death, the unborn child, the promise that fills the space between them. Nayeli speaks finally, her voice calm but measured. Your brother, he trusted you with my life, and with my child's. Why should I believe a man I've never seen? Her question is not accusatory but protective. Eli bows his head slightly, acknowledging the validity of her skepticism. He explains that he is here to honor his brother's wishes, not to claim authority or interfere in her life. He emphasizes that his sole intention is to ensure her safety and the child's future. Every word is chosen carefully, every gesture meant to convey sincerity and humility. Cultural differences become immediately apparent. Eli struggles with customs he does not fully understand, how to greet Nayeli without offense, how to speak respectfully to the elders, how to move through the settlement without seeming intrusive. Nayeli watches him closely, assessing whether he is a man of integrity or mere obligation. She tests him with questions about his intentions, his past, and his understanding of responsibility. Eli answers honestly, drawing upon the memories of his brother, the values instilled in him since childhood, and his own desire to do what is right. Trust, he realizes, will not be given freely. It must be earned. The tension is punctuated by moments of small but meaningful action. Eli helps secure a bundle of firewood for the community, demonstrating that he is willing to work alongside them rather than stand apart. He shows attentiveness to their daily routines, listening carefully and learning the language as best he can. Nayeli observes this, her suspicion slowly giving way to cautious curiosity. She recognizes that Eli's courage is not only in crossing miles of dangerous terrain but in his willingness to immerse himself respectfully in her world. Over the course of several days, Eli continues to prove his commitment. He tends to minor injuries, helps repair a fence damaged by recent storms, and shares his knowledge of medicine and survival learned from years in the frontier. Nayeli begins to see that he is more than a stranger fulfilling a promise. He is capable, compassionate, and adaptable. Each shared task builds the fragile scaffolding of trust. While their relationship is far from romantic at this stage, a mutual understanding emerges, a recognition that they are bound together by circumstance, duty, and the memory of Samuel's love. The emotional complexity deepens as Eli witnesses Nayeli's strength and vulnerability. She is protective of her people, determined to maintain their traditions and safety, yet she carries the quiet burden of Samuel's absence and the uncertainty of the child's future. Eli feels a profound respect for her resilience, realizing that any true bond must honor both her autonomy and the legacy of the man who loved her. He also begins to grapple with his own feelings, admiration, empathy, and a tentative affection that he does not yet fully understand. By the end of this first encounter, a delicate equilibrium is established. Nayeli acknowledges Eli's presence and his honorable intentions, though full trust is far from granted. Eli understands that patience, humility, and respect are essential for any progress. This outline highlights the initial meeting, the tension between cultures, and the first steps toward mutual understanding. It is a crucial stage in the story because it sets the emotional tone for the developing relationship, and the cultural negotiation that will define much of the narrative. The first encounter emphasizes that love and trust cannot be demanded, they must be earned through action, integrity, and consistency. Eli's journey has shifted from a physical challenge to an emotional and moral one where the stakes are not only survival but also the heart and spirit of a woman who has endured loss and faces a precarious future. This outline bridges the wilderness journey with the story's intimate human drama, creating the tension, anticipation, and depth needed for the next stage, forming a real connection and beginning the path toward marriage and family. The days following Eli's arrival at the Apache settlement are filled with careful observation, small gestures of assistance, and deliberate communication. Eli understands that trust cannot be demanded, and Nayeli remains cautious, aware of the history between settlers and her people. She observes him closely, noting the way he treats the elders, the children, and the land itself. Every act lifting fallen branches, helping to repair shelters, carrying water from the stream is a silent demonstration of commitment. Slowly, she begins to soften, recognizing that Eli's presence is not just obligation, but an effort grounded in integrity. During this period, Eli immerses himself in learning the Apache customs. He studies their rituals, language, and social structure, often clumsily at first, yet with persistent effort. Nayeli guides him patiently, explaining the meaning behind ceremonies, the responsibilities of family, and the delicate balance required to live harmoniously within the tribe. Eli begins to see the depth of her culture, the wisdom, the resilience, and the reverence for life and community. The more he learns, the more his admiration grows. Nayeli notices this genuine respect, and the seeds of trust begin to bloom. Amid these moments of growing familiarity, the settlement faces external threats that bring urgency to their bond. One afternoon, a group of armed settlers is spotted near the territory boundary, trespassing with the intent of claiming land that belongs to the Apache. The elders confer in a tense assembly, debating how to respond. Nayeli and Eli prepare to protect the village. Eli's experience with the frontier proves invaluable. He scouts the perimeter, identifies strategic positions, and helps the warriors organize defenses. This crisis becomes a crucible, testing not only his courage but also his understanding of Apache tactics and values. As the threat escalates, Eli demonstrates bravery without arrogance. He does not seek to dominate but to contribute, to support Nayeli and her people. His actions speak volumes. When a settler attempts to break through a boundary line, Eli intervenes, diffusing the situation without unnecessary violence. Nayeli observes his judgment and composure, seeing a man capable of protecting without imposing, of acting decisively while respecting her authority. This shared experience begins to transform the relationship from one of cautious acquaintance to mutual reliance. During the long nights after the confrontation, Eli and Nayeli talk more openly. Around the fire, they share stories of their pasts. Eli recounts memories of Samuel, tales from his youth, and reflections on life in the frontier. Nayeli tells of her upbringing, the hardships her people have endured, and the dreams she holds for the future. These conversations are delicate and respectful, a bridge between cultures built on honesty and empathy. Eli listens as much as he speaks, understanding that trust is cultivated not through words alone but through consistent, honorable actions. As days turn into weeks, their partnership deepens. Eli adapts to the routines of the settlement. He assists with hunting, helps repair homes, and tends to small injuries with knowledge he gained from frontier medicine. Nayeli, in turn, allows him closer, sharing responsibilities that were once strictly hers and teaching him the subtleties of Apache life. Their interactions are filled with unspoken understanding, laughter, and moments of quiet companionship. Each shared experience strengthens the emotional tether between them, even though romantic feelings remain subtle and unacknowledged. Another significant external challenge arises when a band of rogue bandits, aware of allies' presence and seeking revenge for previous frontier conflicts, attacks the settlement. This confrontation is more dangerous than the previous threat. The bandits are well-armed and aggressive, forcing Eli, Nayeli, and the Apache warriors to coordinate a defense under extreme pressure. Eli demonstrates tactical skill, bravery, and composure under fire, saving lives without recklessly endangering himself. Nayeli sees him risk his own safety for the tribe's well-being, solidifying her trust and admiration. Through these crises, the story emphasizes that trust and intimacy are forged in the crucible of shared experience and mutual reliance. Eli proves himself not through words, but through deeds. His courage, integrity, and willingness to immerse himself in the Apache way of life. Nayeli, meanwhile, balances caution with openness, testing Eli but gradually acknowledging that his intentions are sincere and honorable. Their bond grows stronger with each challenge, forming a foundation for the next stage of the story. Emotional intimacy and the possibility of love beyond physical danger. The outline also explores emotional and psychological growth. Eli begins to confront the depth of responsibility he has undertaken, not just to honor Samuel's wish, but to actively participate in protecting a family and a community. He learns patience, humility, and respect for cultural norms, understanding that love and duty are inseparable from ethical and moral action. Nayeli, meanwhile, learns to trust someone outside her culture, to allow another person to become part of her world, and to recognize that connection can be built on shared experience rather than just obligation. By the end of this outline, Eli and Nayeli have navigated both physical threats and emotional barriers. Trust has been established, mutual respect has deepened, and a foundation for love is being laid, albeit quietly and gradually. The challenges they face together have strengthened their bond, revealing that courage, empathy, and consistent integrity are as important as survival skills. The stage is set for the final outline, where Eli fulfills Samuel's request, deepening their connection and committing to a future together despite the lingering uncertainties of life on the frontier. This outline highlights the crucible of shared challenges, how danger, responsibility, and cultural understanding transform a relationship built on obligation into one rooted in respect, trust, and the beginnings of love. It emphasizes that bonds forged in adversity are often the strongest, and that commitment to another's safety, well-being, and dignity is the truest measure of character. The day of the marriage is approached with a sense of solemnity and anticipation. Eli has spent weeks integrating into the Apache settlement, learning the language, customs, and ways of life, proving himself not only to Nayeli but to the elders and the community. He stands at the edge of a clearing, dressed simply yet respectfully, holding a ceremonial gift prepared with guidance from the elders. The ceremony is not just about union. It is a recognition of trust, responsibility, and respect between cultures. Eli feels the weight of every step he has taken, from the canyon where he found Samuel's letter, through the arduous journey, to the trials that have shaped his character. Nayeli approaches, radiant and composed, embodying the strength and dignity that first drew Eli's admiration. She has accepted the marriage not as a passive obligation, but as a conscious choice, acknowledging both the legacy of Samuel's love and the bond she has built with Eli through shared trials. As they face each other, surrounded by elders, warriors, and other members of the tribe, there is a sense of harmony in the air. Their union is more than romantic, it is a convergence of duty, love, and cultural understanding. The ceremony begins with rituals rooted in Apache tradition. emphasizing respect for the land, ancestors, and community. Eli participates fully, following instructions with sincerity, aware that his actions symbolize more than personal devotion. They signify acceptance and respect for a culture not his own. The elders oversee each step, ensuring that the ceremony honors Nayeli, the tribe, and the memory of Samuel. Each word, gesture, and movement is deliberate, reinforcing the solemnity of the occasion. Eli feels a profound sense of belonging, not as a conqueror or outsider, but as someone welcomed into a community through integrity and commitment. As the ceremony progresses, Eli and Nayeli exchange vows not just to each other, but to the responsibilities their union entails. Eli vows to protect Nayeli and the child, to honor the legacy of Samuel, and to contribute to the community's well-being. Nayeli vows to accept Eli as a partner, to share the burdens and joys of life, and to guide him in understanding her culture and traditions. The vows are spoken with conviction, carrying both the weight of promise and the hope of a shared future. Their words are met with nods and murmurs of approval from the assembled community, signaling acceptance and recognition. Following the ceremony, the couple begins the process of building a life together. Eli adapts further to Apache ways, participating in daily routines such as hunting, farming, and preparing medicines, while sharing knowledge from his own experiences. Nayeli teaches him skills beyond the practical stories, songs, and rituals that connect the tribe to their ancestors and the land. Their partnership is a continuous exchange, a blend of giving and receiving, learning and teaching. Through these shared activities, they deepen their understanding and respect for one another, allowing trust to evolve into affection and love. The couple also faces challenges that test their bond. Life on the frontier is unpredictable. Weather, scarcity of resources, and occasional threats from outsiders demand resilience. Yet Eli and Nayeli approach these trials together, their previous experiences of overcoming danger and adversity serving as a foundation for mutual support. Each challenge reinforces the lessons learned during Eli's journey: courage, patience, empathy, and the understanding that true partnership requires shared responsibility. They confront each obstacle with a combination of skill, intuition, and respect for the land and people around them. Over time, their relationship flourishes. Love grows naturally, born from shared experiences rather than romantic idealization. Eli admires Nayeli's wisdom, strength, and courage, while Nayeli comes to trust not only his abilities but his heart. The child Samuel spoke of becomes a symbol of their union, a living testament to duty fulfilled and a new beginning forged. Their lives intertwine seamlessly with the community, establishing a legacy of honor and respect that bridges two worlds: the frontier life Eli knew and the cultural richness of the Apache people. Final Stage also explores the emotional and moral growth achieved by Eli. He has transformed from a man motivated by grief and obligation into one who understands love, responsibility, and the importance of cross-cultural respect. Nayeli, likewise, embraces vulnerability and partnership, recognizing that trust and love are choices that can thrive even under extraordinary circumstances. Together, they demonstrate that honor, empathy, and courage are timeless virtues, capable of uniting disparate worlds. The story concludes with a sense of hopeful continuity. Eli and Nayeli, now partners in life, face the future together with resilience and optimism. Their marriage is a symbol of promise fulfilled, love nurtured, and the courage to embrace the unknown. Samuel's letter, once a catalyst for grief and uncertainty, has guided Eli to a profound transformation. He has not only honored his brother, but also created a family, forged bonds of trust, and embraced a life richer than he could have imagined. The narrative arc from discovery to journey from tension to trust and finally to union, illustrates the interplay between duty, love, and personal growth. The story's resolution emphasizes that true courage is measured not just in facing external threats, but in the willingness to understand, respect, and integrate into a world beyond one's own. Eli's journey reflects the transformative power of empathy, integrity, and commitment, while Nayeli's acceptance demonstrates the strength found in discernment and openness. Together, they embody a story of human resilience, cross-cultural understanding, and the enduring impact of love guided by honor. This final outline ties together all preceding events, highlighting the culmination of Eli's journey, both physical and emotional, and the fulfillment of Samuel's request. It demonstrates that the trials, dangers, and moral challenges faced along the way have a lasting purpose. They prepare Eli to become a partner worthy of Nayeli's trust and love. The story ends on a note of promise, hope, and unity, celebrating the blending of lives, cultures, and the triumph of honor over adversity.